The Department of Social Development, in partnership with the Nelson Mandela Children's Fund, will next week hold the bicentennial Africa Children's Summit in Johannesburg. The gathering, which will bring together about 1,300 children from across the continent, aims to empower children to advocate for their rights, lead discussions on their lives, and to shape policy recommendations for governments, for civil society organizations, and international bodies. This gathering will also take stock of the resolutions taken at the summit launch and how much progress has been made. And for more on the summit, we're joined by Deputy Director for the Rights of the Child Office in the Gauteng Social Development Department, Saabia Shabudin, a former Nelson Mandela Children's Parliament Gauteng Ambassador, Kayla Netshirembe, and current NMCP parliamentarian Khethiwe Tshabalala. Good morning to all of you. Welcome to Newzroom Afrika, and thank you so much for joining us on this morning.
Good morning.
All right. Now, first and foremost, before we begin this conversation, I think it's very important that we shine a spotlight on a very critical subject. I don't know how many of you have been aware of I think it's been trending since yesterday, the story of Kwekwe. Right? And what has happened to the 7-year-old girl who was violated allegedly on school premises, and just how the whole thing has been dealt with. I'd like to get your inputs, especially as children leaders, around how you think we can better protect or create a safe environment for children. Let's start with you, Kayla.
Good morning. And so sexual harassment is one of the biggest issues that we are facing as a country, and not only as a country, but globally. So with the issue of Kwekwe, it pains us as the children, because we as children, when we go to school knowing that it's a place of safety, right? It's a place where the teachers, the principals, and everyone that is around the school premises is supposed to protect us. With the issue of Kwekwe, she was violated inside the school premises, and what hurts most is that allegedly the principal denies with the DNA.
Yes, he's refusing to cooperate with the police.
Yes.
And I'd like to bring you in here, Khethiwe. I mean, what are your immediate reactions to this recent incident that just occurred?
Honestly speaking, ma'am, like, I don't know how to feel. Like, my safety right now, I don't know where is a place where I can call like a safe place for me, honestly speaking. Because at home, we had also, like last year, the Jocelyn case as well, whereby she was allegedly kidnapped as well, and then now it's the Kwekwe case. And then also, again, there's a KZN woman who was beating her child with a rolling pin until she strangled her to death again. So you see, we're not safe everywhere. That's why these summits are very important. Like, that's why our voices matter now.
And thank you for bringing that into focus. And let's talk about the summit now. I'd like to bring you in here. Saabia, if you can start by telling us a little bit more about your role within the summit and at the Department of Social Development, and how you've been involved in the planning of this Africa Children's Summit.
Thank you very much. I think let me begin with, because you had previously posed a question. Off screen, you posed a question of where do we come from and what do we do? You know, what is exactly our role? So where we come from is that as a professional social worker, I've dabbled in quite a lot with a vast experience over this number of years, because then I'm going to give my age away to you. So within that vast experience, we straddle right across all the fields of social work, therapy, court, okay, this one, to her, okay.
It's okay.
Court work and so forth, statutory court work, developmental work, and so forth. And within amongst all of that, I've also had a bit of a dabble in the strategic planning arena. So, so that vast experience calls to itself that I end up, you know, when I started my studies, as I got into the studies, my dad wasn't too happy about that. But then he said to me, are you going to work with the children? And I said, yes, I will be working with the children. And surely so now we end up working with the children, looking at the rights of children, and then looking at how we take them across the field from One being astutely being able to protect themselves, and we succinctly then care and protect for children, right? So your question, I just reiterated again.
Right, and the role that you play within the Africa Children's Summit.
Yes, so we at a national level, we have the Office of the Rights of Children. And we also, they're both children ambassadors, Khethiwe being a child ambassador, most current, Kayla being the previous one. And so the child ambassadors and ourselves, we have a wing where we call the Children's Parliament. So we equip the children from that stage of where they are still within the school role, and they will be, how would you say, speedily, schooling will come to its culmination, and they will enter into adolescence, and they will be the youth that whom are leading us.
All right.
Right.
Now, Kayla, as a former child ambassador, what inspired you to get into advocacy work?
What inspired me is that in South Africa, we have so many challenges that children are facing, and most of the challenges, they're not being focused on. The challenges that the children are facing, they are not being taken into consideration. So with me being a child ambassador, I worked hard to make sure that the children's voices are heard, and they're also included in decision-making, especially in issues that are affecting them as children. So with the platforms such as the Nelson Mandela Children's Parliament, we were able to make sure that the children's voice are being heard, and they are doing everything that it's affecting children, and they're including us. Me and my group, we love saying that there's nothing about us without us. So with the Nelson Mandela Children's Parliament, we are included. We are being able to voice out how we feel about challenges and issues that are affecting us as children. And by the look of things, we are improving from where we were as children back then. And right now, with the help of the Department of Social Development, Nelson Mandela Children's Parliament, and Save the Children South Africa, and also UNICEF.
Fantastic. Khethiwe, what do you hope to achieve through your participation in the summit?
Honestly speaking, I really would love to achieve child participation in parliament. We are in South Africa. There's a point whereby, like they say, we can't stand the 6 hours that they have in parliament. I feel like they should try us. They should just try us, give us an opportunity to do that 6 hours. We can nail it. I know we can, so that we can voice our own opinions on matters that affect us. In the Constitution, Section 28 clearly states that the child's best interest should be considered. But I feel like in our country, when it's time for us to actually say what matters to us, we are not given an opportunity to do that. But I'm really glad that there are opportunities like this.
That's great. And I'd like to ask each of you, what is the theme seen, heard, engaged? What does it mean to you? And how do you think it relates to the goals and objectives of the Africa Children's Summit?
What is your question? Sorry.
Seen, heard, engaged. What does that theme mean to you?
As a child, to be seen, it's for us as the children to be included, as I said before, in what affects us. To be heard is where we have to see the different departments, the government coming together in action to help us as the children to move from the level that we are right now to a better level.
That is fantastic. And what does it represent for you, Khethiwe?
For me, it represents, we say something, we meet in this summit, we say something, action is done. We are given time frames. When is the implementation of the outcomes that we put in these summits going to happen? That's what the theme means for me.
All right. And Saabia, could you take us through what would be transpiring over this 4-day period at the next Africa Children's Summit?
Okay, I think that what we will be discussing is challenges that children face, both community level, intercontinentally, which means throughout of Africa, and as well across the as well as that covering and going across the globe. Yeah.
And Kayla, what would you say is the most important focus area for you as a representative of Africa's children?
The most focus area and the challenges, right? I would say it's education. In South Africa specifically, we are a school that when it comes to education, we are not so doing well, especially in the local level. So the thing is, we have schools but they're not enough. We have schools that have lack of infrastructures, right? So, for example, you find a school in a township, Alexandra, right? The school has classes, but the classes are not enough in a way that, let's say, a class that was meant for 40 children, you'll find it accommodating more than 60 children, which makes it hard for the children to focus and be there at the level best for their education, which leads to the children not participating well enough when it comes to their matric. Hence, the matric pass rate is not so nice. So I feel like the most focus area that we should start with is education, because everything starts at the education level. It's more like a foundation to everything. And another issue is that schools that are in local areas, they're not given well enough attention. For example, you find a child that is probably the age of 10, still struggling to read and write and do the basic things that a normal 10-year-old in a nicer school would be able to do. So as the children, we feel like education is the first thing that the government and also as children, we should start advocating for.
Mm-hmm. Would you like to add to that, Khethiwe? Which do you think are critical issues? She's mentioned education, and what about you?
Yes, that's the key point. In the pre-summit that we had last year, we had a pre-summit for the Africa Children's Summit, whereby children gave out the challenges that they were facing. Education is very important because according to UNICEF, less than 20% of African continent countries are actually paying the 20% of their national budget towards education. And this is an underfunding. Like, it's an underfunding leads to overcrowding, like she mentioned, in schools. And it also leads to like 4 out of 5 children who are like 10 years old not being able to read and understand like basic stories. And then again, in countries like South Sudan, countries like South Sudan and Central Africa, like girls are dropping out of schools because of teenage pregnancy and early child marriages. And in countries like Chad and Mali, what's happening is that the social norms and poverty hinder education access for these children. And again, in South Africa, we are facing this thing of teenage pregnancy. It's an issue. It happened last year. Remember, 21st of December, there was this Limpopo girl who got pregnant by an adult man. So it's an issue that we need to solve. Plus, again, I really don't understand, okay, this is according to me, I really don't understand why do we still have laws that are there that enable children who are 16 years old to actually consent to sex if we are saying that we are facing a teenage pregnancy issue. Sure. So this needs to be something that needs to be worked on.
Tackled,
like literally, it needs to be worked on.
There are so many issues, and I think you ladies are just so bright. Our future is definitely in good hands. And thank you so much for taking the time to be here. Where can people get more information on the Africa Children's Summit?
You could get that from the main contender and the overarching custodian for the summit is Nelson Mandela Children's Fund. I think the chief coordinator there is Anzio. So it could be done through Nelson Mandela Children's Fund and their desk, and they could then direct you to Anzio. On National Department Social Development, we have taken hands strongly with them and are running concurrently the conference with them, or the summit, sorry, with them. Okay. And the Office of the ORC, as I indicated to you. All right. David Tshabalala.
We're going to leave it right there. Okay, we run out of time.
Not to mention in Gauteng, it's ourselves.
All right, thank you so much. We appreciate your presence. Thank you, ladies.
Thank you.
All right. So that was Deputy Director for the Rights of the Child, Office in the Gauteng Social Development Department, Saabia Shabudin, a former Nelson Mandela Children's Parliament Ambassador, Kayla Netshirembe, and current NMCP parliamentarian Khethiwe Tshabalala.